Oh my goodness, welcome back. We just finished perhaps one of the more epic games that I've ever seen with dayvie, who was Zerg killing off every single one of GnoME's workers with Banelings, but GnoME had a couple of Banshees to say otherwise. So this means that GnoME is up 2-1 against dayvie. Pretty shocking result at this point in time, and even more shocking is the fact that they are playing on this map, Scrap Station, twice in a row, both of them now Protoss. Apparently we can confirm that GnoME is a random player, as he has played all three races in this tournament, as has dayvie. For any of you who have not watched the other matches, this is Game 4 between GnoME and dayvie from the Grand Finals of an in-house Blizzard tournament. Whoever wins this tournament will be crowned the North American Office Blizzard Champion. Looks like both players are throwing down their pylon at the same time, both of them chrono boosting at the same time. On this map, a lot of funkiness can happen in Protoss versus Protoss. Because the distances are long, it means if you get to the late game, players are generally going to be quite passive, going to be expanding a little bit more, getting more of those power units like the Colossus, or even occasionally going for Dark Templar. But the problem is, with the early game, because the warp gate completely ignores any distance, in other words, because you can warp in anywhere, lots of players can easily spend all their early chrono boost on that warp gate upgrade with the really long ground distances. They don't have to worry about dying early on. So huge 3 and 4 warp gate pushes, huge 3 and 4 warp gate cheese plays are very common on this map as well. So dayvie creating a nice little constellation of scouting around his opponent. GnoME playing very normally. dayvie is also playing very normally, and the big question is, are they going to be saving chrono boost? Looks like dayvie has not saved any at all. Neither has his opponent GnoME. This is generally a very good indicator of something scary is coming. A lot of Protosses regularly check the energy on that building, and it looks like dayvie's just decided that he can totally take this pylon on his own with just this probe. Looks like the gateway now finishing for dayvie. Gateway's for dayvie a little bit behind, but no big deal. Looks like GnoME is just a few inches farther forward, as we can see up in that production tab. But also it looks like GnoME is, instead of a second gas, getting a Zealot out. Going to try to keep this probe out of the main, perhaps even do a little bit of early aggression himself. Meanwhile, in dayvie's base, opting for a very fast second gateway. This is very typical. If you end up doing some sort of early stalker play, which I would not mind at all because of how wide this gate, or wide this entrance is, very easy to micro those stalkers around that point. There's the chrono boost going down on the warp gate upgrade. Let's see if dayvie ends up doing anything similar. It looks like dayvie is not actually getting the warp gate upgrade yet, wants to save up, perhaps get that second stalker out, but I mean the gateway is still quite a ways out from being finished. Always common to get that warp gate up right at the start. There's the warp gate going on. There we go. Gas only just now starting for GnoME. Second gateway almost finished for him as well. That Zealot doing a lot of work, huffing and puffing to try to catch that probe, but the second stalker pops out. He will be able to pick that one off, and 3 probes doing something for dayvie. Looks like they're just kidding. Gonna go ahead and return home easily. There's another gateway coming out for dayvie. Has a couple of stalkers out on the field. He's trying to scout around, wants to make sure that there's no hidden pylons. Again, those 4 warp gate cheeses are so popular. Looks like GnoME is getting a robotics facility so he can get out an early observer scout, an immortal if he needs to hold off some sort of push, and no doubt Colossus Den, aka the robotics bay, to get the Colossi out. And wow, dayvie going to go ahead and go for that 4 warp gate play. He's going to move out with these 2 early stalkers. Going to go ahead and pick off that probe. GnoME also being very proactive about scouting around. Really don't want any of those proxy pylons ruining your day. And now with the warp gate upgrade finished for GnoME, ooh, he can't really make use of it, so the fact that he researched it so early is a little bit of a waste. But it looks like these stalkers might pop out in time, or will dayvie actually get a free stalker kill? He's going to bounce up, wants to dance back and forth. If he could pick off a stalker, that would be great, but he's not going to take too huge of a risk. There's the immortal coming out for GnoME, and there's some more zapping action. And it looks like dayvie will barely be able to get out with his life, but 4 warp gates finishing. Robo also going down for dayvie. Ooh, he really cannot support all of those unit-producing structures. I mean, we've even see GnoME, who's broke just on 3 unit-producing structures, let alone 5. But that's what dayvie's doing. He's investing a lot of zealots and sentries, the cheaper gateway units, so that way he can actually make out of 4 warp gates instead of warping in a bunch of stalkers and having that 4th gate sit around doing nothing embarrassingly. GnoME is actually gearing up to do a little push of his own. More pylons being placed down for dayvie. Does not want to get supply blocked. That robo is just now finishing. Will likely not have enough to do much with it, so he will just get an observer and will continue to produce gateway units, I would imagine. With that gateway out, dayvie sees that, oh, we see some hints of units. Now he should be fully aware of that. The probe's now going to get picked off. He's 100% certain that there's that push coming. He's going to warp in a few extra zealots, but at the same time, opting for a robotics bay, really wants to get that Colossus out as fast as possible, while GnoME ends up making a lot of gateway units, but he only has 2 gateways. His 3rd has just finished. GnoME's going to need to do a lot of damage with this push if he wants to be able to end this game. dayvie, on the other hand, is just going to play defensively. He's going to morph in mainly zealots, so that way he can save up the gas for the robotics bay upgrade, that thermal lance, and of course for the Colossus themselves. Observer, of course, getting a good count of absolutely everything. GnoME realizing, yeah, maybe those Colossi are a good idea. He's investing in a robotics bay himself, but with this sort of big aggressive push forward, I'm a little surprised to see that GnoME hasn't done anything. He's just standing in kind of a stalemate situation with his opponent. There is the robotics bay finishing now. There's the chrono boost being devoted to that Colossus. We even see dayvie has saved up energy so that way he can get the Colossus out as fast as possible. And looks like GnoME is starting to inch forward. Might be gearing up to do a push right now. Looks like he might have a little bit of a food advantage. No, dayvie's actually the one with the food advantage. Oh, he tries to poke up with a zealot. Could have thrown down force fields to pick it off for free, but it looks like dayvie is going to be saving up, spending all that chrono boost on the Colossus, and then just building another one right away. There are more zealots being warped in. Meanwhile, back in the main of GnoME, he has finally started some Colossus production of himself. He's supply blocked. And dayvie is gradually pulling ahead in the food count. The Colossus plus the high zealot mix is so hard to deal with. People don't talk enough about how fast the Colossus is. It can really track down units and annihilate them, and the slow zealots kind of get in the way of the Colossus, and it looks like, GnoME in the full-out retreat. Both of them starting range at approximately the same time, so no huge advantage for either player there, but dayvie does have a little bit more production capacity. There, all the zealots just swinging forward. Chrono boost going down on GNOME's range upgrade. Range, one of the most important upgrades in the game. Extends it from 6 to 9, which is kind of absurd. Looks like dayvie is feeling very comfortable with his situation, decides he wants to knock down the destructible rocks. He has a probe set up to be able to begin an expansion. There's the expo going down. And dayvie is continuing to make those Colossi. His range is getting pretty close to done. Well, no, it's actually quite a ways behind his opponents. The observer from dayvie is getting the chance to see everything. GNOME's 2nd Colossus is a little ways from being done, but his range is rapidly approaching completion. dayvie, on the other hand, is really going to be waiting until he gets 3 Colossi out. He's actually fine with the fact that his range is delayed because he's getting so many more Colossi with the helpful use of that chrono boost. Nexus, about halfway done for dayvie. He has no need to attack anytime soon. He can actually just sit and camp. He knows his opponent was behind on the Colossus tech, so that means dayvie is going to force his opponent to come to him. If for some reason GNOME doesn't end up killing off his opponent, it means that dayvie will get higher and higher and higher Colossus count until there's almost nothing that GNOME can do about it. So GNOME is going for it, man. He is going to try to end this game with one swift push. And looking at the unit counting station, we see that there are not as many probes for GNOME, which means that most of the food is actually army. More zealots and more stalkers out for GNOME. Even that immortal is going to be helping a lot, but there's 3 Colossi out for dayvie, and there's the huge arc. There's the kill on the pylon. Won't be able to warp in. There's the 2 Guardian Shields going down, and it looks like dayvie getting the significantly better arc of the zealots. Half the zealots from GNOME are actually caught behind. More force fields being thrown down, but dayvie's just advancing forward with his Colossus and picking those force fields off. But wow, somehow GNOME has managed to break through, and it looks like there's no zealots left for dayvie. Turns out to be somewhat of a blessing that GNOME had all his zealots stuck behind. There's another round of gateway units popping out right now. This immortal doing big amounts of damage, but with the Zealots and the Colossi slowly catching up on its tail, it will be time to retreat. 4 Colossi out right now for dayvie. 5th one on the way. Expo finished. Geysers going down, so we can add yet more gateway units. There's another pylon popping out for dayvie, so we can reinforce a little more easily. GnoME, oh, he is pulling back, but I do not like this choice. He's behind on almost every front. Workers, Colossi, Immortals. It is going to be an extremely tough position. dayvie is just going to wait for a while, break these rocks down once he gets 5 to 6 Colossi, and that might be all she wrote for GnoME. In the meantime, though, a lot of Zealots being made by dayvie. Expansion up and running. Look at the resource distribution in the income tab. We see dayvie almost doubling his opponent. Now heading over to that key Xel'Naga watchtower, picking off that one probe that was waiting patiently at the watchtower to spot any little attack coming. So this does mean that GnoME is going to be feeling a touch more uncomfortable. Another observer being produced. Generally, each Protoss player only gets 1 observer all game long, so there is the 1 observer for GnoME. Now marching out, might be able to even pick off this 1 observer, and it looks like he is going to see it. He notices that there is that OBS there. Let's see if he ends up seeing it on the minimap to pick it off. 5 Colossi out right now for dayvie. There are 5 on the field. 6th one halfway from being complete, and it looks like 2 more Robos. I think dayvie's just only going to build Colossi for the rest of the game. And it looks like gateway units being the choice for GnoME. He is going to be transferring most of his probes over to this Expo. Another Colossus being built. Now, GnoME is probably thinking that it's somewhat of an even game, but he has no idea that there's actually 3 Colossi being built at a time. In terms of gateway production, virtually no gateway units being made at all from dayvie. He's just going for the mass power unit. That's a bold play. I mean, Void Rays are becoming increasingly popular in this matchup. And actually, all matchups, Void Rays are becoming a very popular choice. Just a handful of Void Rays will rip through this giant Colossus count. Because, I mean, if you look at it, there's really no anti-air in this mix. There's exactly 1 unit that can shoot up. There he is. That is the anti-air fleet. Congratulations, you are the commander of everything that shoots up. So many Colossi coming out. And there's the Warp Prism as well. Perhaps not going to be doing some Warp Prism harass, but could very well just be doing a reinforcement bit. Advancing forward with his giant freaking wad of Colossi. Look at that station. 9 Colossi to 5. If he just waits for 1 more cycle of units, he is going to have himself 11 Colossi versus basically nothing from the opponent. And it looks like, whoa, the Gravatic Drive. He's getting the speed upgrade for the Warp Prism, and dayvie taking the gold expansion at the bottom left. Smart play. If the opponent decides to kill this expansion, dayvie takes his 9 Colossi and just kills the opponent. Looks like Warp Prism. Oh no! And there's the Void Rays by GnoME. No way! A Warp Prism also coming out from GnoME. I don't believe it. He's getting Void Rays. That is so awesome. But will he end up seeing the Stargates? He's already dropped. He's starting to pick those probes off. 4 kills on him right now. Don't run into the direction of the Stargate. He's got to be careful. And there's the Stargate reveal. dayvie is going to be absolutely shocked. He has an only anti-ground mix, and there's a lot of Stalkers getting morphed in right now. This 1 Warp Prism is trying to find some place to drop, but at the same time, Zealot's being warped in by GnoME. They find nothing. No minerals anywhere, and dayvie reveals his absurd Colossus count. Warp Prism with the speed boost now advancing to the south side of the map, where there's a gold expansion. Looks like it will be there to kind of help clean out this 1 lone Zealot. Man, Warp Prisms with speed, very uncommon unit, but looking very good. Can easily maneuver around the map. And trying to get just 1 probe kill, not gonna happen. 1 Void Ray feeling a little lost, just playing a little bit of self-timeout in the corner there. And look at this giant force from dayvie. Having a little indecision about the rocks, but then eventually deciding to press forward, continue to advance with these pylons. GnoME is going to be in a rough spot. Unless he gets a lot of Void Rays out, and he already has 4 on the field, 5. Uh-oh. Perhaps a free Colossus. But here's the final push coming up right now. That is a ton of Colossi, and there are the Void Rays from GnoME ripping through everything, and it looks like a superior Colossus count now leads for GnoME. No way, but the Colossus at the backside killing everything off. Is it going to be another elimination race? Zealot's now trying to warp in. 23 kills during that battle. Oh my gosh, putting some serious work on the opponent. I don't believe it. No way. The Void Rays, huge tide turner, but I do not know if it is going to be enough because there are 26 kills on this Colossus. This is insane. The Warp Prism did not end up doing as much damage, and this gold from dayvie might be a savior as 3 Stargates of dayvie are being produced as we speak. Here comes a little bit of a push from GnoME. Got to be careful, though, because that is a lot of Stalkers. That is 16 Stalkers. Looks like he is going for it. Colossi get caught off guard. They're not target firing the other Stalkers. Looks like, oh, the Void Ray's off doing their own thing. Another Void Ray gets sniped off. GnoME trying to find a good position to set these guys up, but there are so many Stalkers out on the field. They managed to pick off 2 more of those Void Rays. They managed to get the 4th, and the 5th one is now going to fall. GnoME has just lost the huge advantage he had, and the 30-kill Colossus. Oh, no. He was in a losing spot, but the brilliant transition of Void Rays. Oh, and a GG. Oh, that's killer. GnoME was in amazing condition. He just should have moved down to the gold to take it out. He should have regrouped. He got over-eager and went in for the kill and lost all his Colossi and Void Rays. So that means the series is tied up 2-2. Large thanks to this one Colossus that has over 30 kills. Let's go into Game 5 to find out who the North American Blizzard champion will be.